Yo, what up? What up? What up, man? What up? Shells, what up, man? Stefan, what up? Now, if you don't celebrate white man's holidays, this is just another day. It might not be that way for some of y'all. It might be that way for most of y'all. I don't know. So, what we go do today, since this is another working day, is we're going to use this day to get back out in front of some stories that we need to. And I think that y'all know what I'm most likely going to do next. A big story that's out here that I need to get in front of. Cam, what up, man? Lion, what up? Carrington, what up? Tech Boy, what up? Stefan, what up, man? Hmm. Yeah, I'll be working tomorrow too. Yeah, so I'm not celebrating either. Not celebrating either. Definitely be working tomorrow. So let's have some more people get up in here. Oh, yes, they are. Cameron Gilliam says it's just another day, brother. Really want to spend time with my family and watch football games. Your team is kicking ass, Chicago style. Yeah, yeah. You know what's hilarious? I saw a human interest story out of the Houston area this morning. Y'all saw that cheese grater hat that DJ Moore was wearing in the locker room after the game. Well, turns out the guy that made those hats used to make the cheese hats, and he was sent a cease and desist letter by the Packers. Now the Packers never ever trademarked that. They never ever patented that. You can't patent the way something looks. And even if they were to trademark it and put like a official Green Bay logo on the side, either they if he makes one without the logo. And so his lawyers advised him, you know, go ahead and just respect the cease and desist letter because you probably can fight it, but it's going to be prohibitively expensive and you'll bankrupt your business. So he started making the cheese grater hats, and now he's got more orders than he ever had before because of DJ Moore, being in the locker room with that hat on. But how apropos that a sucker ass organization like Green Bay would do something like that, would issue a cease and desist letter for somebody with a small business where it's like less than 20 people working now. Doug Dissident, what up, man? Saul, what up? Tech Boy Rice, yeah, a lot of Falcon fans are going for Chicago and Seattle in the NFC playoffs. Well, shit, half of Atlanta is from Chicago. I guess they are. Jermaine Taylor, what up? What up? And that's what I'm gonna address later on. I knew one of y'all was gonna mention it. I knew one of y'all was gonna mention it. Tan, let me tell you something. I had got all of the information like the very day that he got arrested. I had it before people online had it. I had this information since, I want to say, what, Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Mikash. I know that. I know. You talking about Floyd? I told y'all that nigga was the agent, and this case. I'm gonna let y'all know later. I'm gonna let y'all know later. But we gonna knock this one out first. I'm gonna We go talk about that at 5:15, man. But right now, we're going to talk about a growing attempt in academia and in the media to try to forestall FBA self determination and cultural and historical awareness by FBA people. Let's talk about recuperation politics. And as I read this Wikipedia entry, the concept of recuperation politics is going to sound all too familiar to you. Recuperation politics. In the sociological sense, recuperation means the process by which politically radical ideas and images are twisted, co opted, absorbed, diffused, incorporated, annexed, or commodified within media culture and bourgeois society, and thus become interpreted through a neutralized, innocuous, or more socially conventional perspective. More broadly, it may refer to cultural appropriation of any subversive symbols of ideas by mainstream culture. The concept of recuperation was formulated by members of the Situationist International, its first published instance in 1960. The term conveys a negative connotation because recuperation generally bears the intentional consequence, whether perceived or not, fundamentally altering behind the meaning behind radical ideas due to their appropriation or being co-opted into the dominant discourse. It was originally conceived as the opposite of their concept of détriment, in which images and other cultural artifacts are appropriated from mainstream sources and repurposed with radical intention. Examples: some former means of countercultural expression have been identified as critics as recuperated, at least in part, are punk music, fashions like mohawk hairdos, ripped jeans, and bondage accessories like dog collars, tattoos, street art, and participatory art. Environmental justice proponents who center social movements and resistance in the transformation to environmental sustainability see the language of transitions to sustainability being recuperated by those who seek to delay and manage the transition. Pointing to the erosion of publicly owned media and capitalist realism, Aaron Bastani wrote of the recuperation of the internet by the capital and says that the consequences of this persistent corporate media recuperation included a reinforcement of status quo, repression of dissent, and artistic expression. Social justice advocates have identified the popular discourse of the new Jim Crow as recuperative, saying that it obscures an analysis of mass incarceration in the United States by adhering to a counter revolutionary contextual framework. I don't know why they would say that, but okay. They're talking about the new Jim Crow, the book by Michelle Alexander. I don't know why they would say that as being counter revolutionary. I don't know, but okay. The popular conception of Martin Luther King has also been recuperated with his democratic socialist ideas, as well as wealth distribution and guaranteed jobs being largely scrubbed from America's cultural memory. Hmm. And there's the notes right there. Right, let y'all look at those right quick. Here's all of the footnotes. Okay, so Now that we've been introduced to the concept of recuperation, as of late, there have been many scholarly works on Google Scholar where academics are attempting right before our very eyes to diffuse and co-opt any type of FBA awareness, right? They're starting to use the term foundational black, and you'll notice in some cases, not in this case, but in some case, there are the strange foreign names, and then you go look up the person, of course, it's a teller, right? So here's one example. And here's another example. And these are just the abstracts of these papers. Notice it says this paper examines the anti-immigrant rhetoric and nativist attitudes of American descendants of slavery, a grassroots organization that promotes a lineage-based identity and advocates for federal reparations. I showed that the group's politics for difference, which is a strategy of building political power behind the struggle for reparation for slavery, undermines blackness as a unifying political and cultural category that has historically served as a predictor for political affiliation and race-based alliances. Wait a minute. It's all well and good that that's what it's served for, but when has it ever served us? When has this collective flat blackness ever served us? When has it ever served us? It's only served all of these other people. It's only served you know, what they like to call themselves people of color. Notice that a lot of these immigrants that they'll happily ride under the people of color, the POC thing, better than saying black. They more likely to do that than saying black. And the reason that they're more likely to do that than to say black is because I don't care where you come from on God's earth. I don't care where you come from. But the second, Lucy, what's up, honey? The second that you say black, people are going to think black American. People are going to think black American. That's why, and if anybody wants to argue or belabor their point, I will point to an example of so many people are so adamant and so militant in telling you that they're not black. I'm not black, I'm Habesha. I'm not black, I'm this. I'm not black, I'm that. And could be many shades darker than me. And I'm right in the middle, many shades darker than me. Right? They will militantly declare that they are not black. I seen a motherfucker that was so goddamn dark before that he looked like under the bed and told me I'm not black. And I didn't even argue. I said, okay, that's fine. Well, what are you? And the nigga was from Senegal. I was like, I'm Senegalese. Okay. Yep. So it's like other political groups want to back us into the Pan-Africanist box, even though it's serving everybody else but us. They want us to carry this. They want us to carry this pro-blackity black, worldwide, international black identity. They want us to carry the mantle for this shit while we take all of the slings and arrows and shit and put in all of the tax dollars, and they withdraw all of the fucking rewards. And so they think that we supposed to do that for the what, the next 60 years? Because what has it been, 60, 70 years since civil rights? The next 60 years, huh? No, we're not doing that. Yeah, it have been 60 years. We're not doing that for the next 60 years. Saul writes, they're trying to say they're black because it's more census numbers and thus more funding, splitting fucks over their resources and business funding. Yeah. 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 And I'm going to tell y'all this again. The reason that people from these other groups, and I said this before, that they have this hardwired contempt for foundational black Americans is because they come here and they are lavishly gifted by any standards, not just by the standards of their country, but by the standards of our country, right? They are lavishly gifted with a place to stay, a car, money to get identification, to go get a job, food, clothes, right? Tax exemption. And so they, in short, are able to find success. Imagine how successful a store could be if you had a no interest loan and tax exemption for 7 years. You'd be making money hand over fist, right? And so they see how easily their business affairs are going, and then they see that what they see on the media, that all blacks are downtrodden, even though that's not true. And so in their mind, we had the same opportunities and resources that they did, but we squandered it, which is why we're in the state that we're in today. But they don't understand that we've been living here in the state where we've been actively disenfranchised for centuries. They don't understand that we used to have all our own towns. I'm going to tell y'all this again. I've had to tell literally hundreds of foreign people about Tulsa, Oklahoma, about Rosewood, Florida, and then show them on my phone because they didn't believe it. And every single time they are in utter shock because they've been so brainwashed by the media and other political apparatuses. They've been so brainwashed that they can't fathom so-called black people having that type of economic development. Yeah, exactly, KC. Exactly. It's not just crazy, it's ironic too. KC writes, it's crazy because when black Americans go anywhere else, all the other countries give us nothing and scam us. Yep. They'll scam you with the prospect of foreign investments, buying land, all of that shit. It's all a fucking scam. They'll charge you higher prices for consumer goods and services. Hey, I have to remind tethers of that all the time. No News Podcast. It's not that they don't understand, they don't care to read our history. It starts there. I have to remind Hood Conservative of that a lot of times, because he is supposed to be a conservative, but then I have to remind him of why we even have a 13th or 14th, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Why we even have it. It's not out of the benevolence of white people, out of the kindness of their heart. It was a set of compromises made out of necessity. Pure necessity. And unless y'all spend all y'all money with the white man, hit the cash out. Carrington Morris asked, "Do I think that Black Americans should uproot from here?" No, nope, nope, because that'll just give them one more excuse. They've already tried all of the psyops and the other end with saying you from here, you from here, you from here, and use of agents. Like I know some of y'all not gonna like this, but I think Marcus Garvey was an agent, and use of agents like them. Oh, you from here, you from here. No, that doesn't mean that we can't start our own enclaves elsewhere. But no, should we completely uproot from here? No, nope. Because don't nothing spend like that American green dollar. Shit. Casey writes, judging by the way they act towards us, we know who used to run shit. Black American ran society based on righteousness. Yeah. Why they had to work so hard to pull down the image of black man and black people in general. Chill writes, I had an argument with my barbershop about Africans. I told him we're Black Americans, not African, and he got mad. I told him to go anywhere in Africa and he'll see how African he is. Yep. Let him find out for himself. Let these niggas find out for themselves. KC writes, that's why black women and white men don't want black American men in power again, because we run societies based off righteousness. Yep. Yep. Yeah, he was an agent. Yeah, he was an agent. You got to realize that useful idiots are agents too. You can have somebody coming up with a false prophecy or a false set of values or a false promise. You don't have to directly influence them because they're already doing what you want to accomplish. So what do you do? What do you do? You just fund them. You just back off and fund them. Watch this. Let's do a thought experiment. Let's do a thought experiment. Let's just say that a black American, a young black American man was a rapper, and he had a history of mental health issues, right? He had a history of mental health issues. And let's just say that this young black man that's a rapper, that's had a history of mental health issues, has had a couple of suicide attempts under his belt. And so he comes out with an album where the whole album is about suicide, right? And he even makes the Billboard charts with a couple of the songs. And it starts a discourse about suicide. And of course, some of his listeners begin to commit suicide too, mostly black men, right? I guarantee you that rapper is going to be put on every single talk show. I guarantee you that you go have people from bot farms and phone farms and shit buying down. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. They tried to revive. Yeah. Many people have tried to revise the history of freedmen's villages. ADOs distinguished themselves culturally from American-born Pan-Africanists and Black immigrants. They seek recognition and status within the American social order by emphasizing the uniquely American and exceptionalist character of their ethno-racial identity. They also resort to rhetoric and xenophobia, applying Nambi's Carter concept of nativism. I analyzed the show hosted by ADO's co-founder Yvette Carnell. Where it's real strange that they cite xenophobia. It's really strange that they allege xenophobia, considering that some of these Black immigrants that came here have adopted their very own racial slur for us. We didn't do anything to them. They came here and made up their racial slur. They did. They made up their own special racial slur for Black Americans. But then they want to talk about nativism. They want to talk about xenophobia. Doug Dissonant writes, "You're right about them greenbacks. I met an American Vietnamese from Houston who manages 2 restaurants in Saigon, but didn't let go of his passport. He only spends 2 weeks every year in the States." See what I mean? See what I mean? See what I mean? See what I mean? So hell no, we shouldn't uproot ourselves from here. Nope. Mm-mm. Hmm. Well, that's the same one. Oh wait, no, that's not the same one. This is another part of that same abstract. Oh, it is the same one. Notice, I'm glad I got it up here nonetheless. Notice that name at the top, Aneta Debaiska. I don't think that's a Polish name. That's probably, yeah, Aneta. You know what? Let's look. Let's go in another tab right quick and look up who that is. Let's find out who Miss Aneta Debaiska is. Dibska. Let's find out who she is. Wait, wanted to be in there too? Okay. Oh my word. Maybe it is a Polish name. Here's Aneta Dibska right here. Whew. Oh, it is a Polish name. Aneta Dibska, University of Warsaw. Okay. Okay, I guess right. It is a Polish name. Okay. It is a Polish name. And this is what killed me with a lot with scholarly works like this. She is all the way the fuck up out of her lane. She all the way in Warsaw, Poland. She all the way in Warsaw, Poland, looking like Radar from MASH, talking about our business. The hell? KC writes, the Native Americans in Mount Shasta, California have a story that says thousands of years ago, when they first made it to the land, there were beings that taught them everything. I wonder who. Yeah. The same thing with with the fucking Navajos, that they have a word for the tribes that predate them, called Anasazi. Anasazi means strange enemy. You wild as hell. It's Pat, face ass bitch. Yup. Yeah, that's a woman. That's a woman. I guess. I guess. Why does she care? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, especially since she's all the way in another country. I don't know why she cares. Well, this shit gets stranger and stranger by the minute, huh? Now I have no idea why it's, I don't know. When you had things like this, by that same scholar, Tara Blackshear, unveiling silence in their attempts to silence misogynoir and kinesiology. Boy, boy, boy. I think that too, Luciano. Tethers paid her to do this. Of course, she's out of her lane. These tethers figure that if their bullshit arguments come from the mouth of a white woman in academia, it will be credible. Yeah, but all the way from over there though, you right though, but that's like that's a really roundabout way to get what you looking for. Adrian Stefano, thanks for the cash app. Don't let that brother be alone. I said Anasazi. Understand that there wasn't the name of those actual. I think that the Anasazi were probably indigenous black people, right? Anasazi isn't even the name of their tribe. That's what they were called by the Navajo. That, you know. Wait a minute. Let me get this down. That's what they were called by the Navajo that overtook them. You know, overtook is a frequently used euphemism in academic circles, particularly when you're talking about one Native American culture that predates or succeeds another one. They will say overtook. And I'm going to tell y'all once again, whenever you hear that word undertook, please understand that they're talking about Mongoloid Siberians coming and slaughtering and taking over the land that indigenous blacks were on, right? And so when it comes to the Anasazi, remember, that wasn't the name of their tribe. That was a name given to them by the Navajo, and it translates as strange enemy. Now, if these people, like, if all Indians look like the way that they tell us that they do in movies and TV and in our school books in many cases, why would you call them strange enemy? What in the human mind could be more strange about somebody than the way that they look? So obviously, they had an appearance that was different. That was different from the Navajo. And you know what? You know why they changed it, KC? Because I pointed it out. I bullshit you not. They just not changed that in the past couple of years since I first pointed that shit out online. And please don't think that academics and shit don't watch these videos, because they do. That's why they changed it. Now it's Pueblicans. The fuck out of here. They changed it also to Pueblicans to get ahead of the potential racial allegations that's going to eventually come out of the full awareness of just how extensively populated by Black people the continent of North America was in pre-Columbian times. That's another reason that they changed the name, because they know one day that the knowledge dam is going to break, and they're going to find out. They're going to find out that, yeah, that's a real good question, Lion. I don't know, but it seems like they were, because of the very tall door openings that you see in those Pueblo structures. If they were like 5'1" and 5'2", like most Navajo are, then why would they need to make those door openings that tall? Food for thought. Rashawn Talley writes, in Colombia, they were tight that the red man in USA were big and strong and muscular men and women who fought white people in the USA, but not once they told her in school they were Black. Oh, okay, that's what you're trying to say. Okay, I should read this comment first. Rashawn Talley writes, I had my Colombian girlfriend for 2 years, and she finally just realized that I was telling the truth, that Aboriginal Black people were in the USA, and she had been baffled all day. White folks brainwashed them. Yeah, the same way that they will get surprised when you tell them that we used to have freedmen's villages, that we had all Black towns. A lot of them are gobsmacked when I tell them that. They are. They are. So this is probably going to be a growing media media problem as we get into this new year, where you're going to see a lot of articles like this. This is eventually going to go mainstream. I predict that in 2026 they are going to just try to say that FBA is a right wing militant Black nativist organization, even though it's not an organization. That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna say that FBA is the Black equivalent of skinheads or some shit. I predict that that's what they're gonna say as we move into this new year. I'm dead serious. I predict that that's what they're gonna say. Watch. That's what they're gonna say. Yep. They're gonna say that it's a lot of Trump supporters, which it is, and that we're racist and xenophobic, and we're psychologically colonized, and that we want all all immigrants kicked out and everything, because the Republican Party has lied to us and said there's going to be more economic opportunity for us. And so, in essence, we've sold our souls to the Republican Party. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. I bullshit you not. That's what they're going to say. Just you sit there and watch. Just you sit there and watch. All right, man. We're going to be back at 5:15. Now that I got out in front of this, right? Now that I got out in front of this. And as they run these stories, if people that you know talk to you about these stories, please tell them to consider the source. Like we just uncovered, this woman is writing about us and she all the way in Warsaw, Poland. Please, at the end of the day, when you read any of this bullshit, consider the source. And even if the person is black, go over to their Wikipedia and look at their early life and see if it's scrubbed or not. If it's scrubbed, if it's nothing there on their only life, then you're gonna know right then and there that they are a tether. Do not be fooled by these tether psyops. Yeah, do not be fooled by these tether psyops. All right, I'm gonna be back at 5:15 once again. We're gonna talk about Floyd and his arrest in Sao Paulo. Back at 5:15. There's been a Black Pill PSA. Been a Black Pill PSA. Peace.